Hello everyone and welcome to SSW TV. My name is Daniel Malik and today I'm here at Microsoft campus, standing right next to the Berlin Wall, and I have a very special guest with me, Anders Hejlsberg. Welcome, Anders.
Thank you.
So, before we get started and talk about Roslyn and TypeScript, tell me something. You had a very impressive career. What was the highlight?
I'm not sure there's a particular single highlight. You know, one thing that was big for me was moving from Denmark to the United States about, well, it's been almost 26 years now, and that sort of, at that time I was working with a company called Borland, and it was just, you know, we were there like before startups were called startups, do you know what I mean, at the very beginning of the industry, and it was just wonderful to have an opportunity to be right there. And to be able to ride it for now about almost 30 years, right? But there have been so many great moments, you know, that's why I'm still here.
I thought that you'll mention C# or Delphi.
Well, I mean, both of those. Turbo Pascal, you know, I mean, that was what set my career off, right? Delphi, the successor. C# was a fantastic opportunity to come to, you know, like the world's largest software company and create a new programming language, right? I mean, that's like every language designer's dream, kind of. And now, you know, working also on this project called TypeScript, which is a whole bunch of fun. So I'm just super happy that.
I wanted to talk with you about TypeScript. It's the latest addition to the great collection of languages you have built. What was driving you to build it?
Well, I think we kept hearing from users that, you know, that JavaScript is the only cross-platform game in town, and writing large JavaScript apps is hard, and the bigger they get, the harder it is. And at one point, it sort of becomes like, you know, read-only code. You dare not touch anything, because if you do, then something pops over there and falls down. And, you know, we know from decades of statically typed languages that these are precisely the kinds of problems that static typing can help solve, right? And so the challenge for us was really like, is there some way that we can like extend JavaScript with the things that are missing for large-scale software development, like optional static typing and classes and modules and interfaces, but do it in a way that doesn't mess with the fundamental value proposition of JavaScript, which is cross-platform and that it runs everywhere, right? And that was sort of the key design point of TypeScript, right? Is make it easier to write large JavaScript apps without actually forcing you to write them differently. And that's why we picked a superset of JavaScript. Every line of JavaScript is already TypeScript. You know, it's just now you can have type annotations, and if you do, then we can help you even more.
Was there internal need, like in Microsoft, when you mentioned enterprise applications, were there a need in Microsoft to have TypeScript?
Yeah, we're not any different than our customers in that sense. And yes, absolutely. And we have very large JavaScript code bases. And a lot of them now, I'm happy to say, are being written in TypeScript. So yeah, so we have lots of internal usage.
If it's not a secret, is there any team you're very proud of using TypeScript internally in Microsoft?
Oh, any particular team inside? Well, I mean, all of Visual Studio Online is pretty much done using TypeScript. Xbox Music uses it. You know, I mean, they're just like all sorts of fun projects, but it's all over the place. You know.
How about in the community? Did you notice any big project you could be proud of it?
Well, one recent one that popped up is Mozilla has a project called Shumway, which is an open source project to build a JavaScript and HTML5 replacement for Flash and a Flash player, and that's all written in TypeScript, which is pretty cool. Yeah. But there are lots of other projects out there. I mean, you just go look on GitHub, and there's like more than 1,000 projects that use TypeScript. So and you know, look at the NPM download numbers, and you'll see there's lots of usage at this point. Yeah, I think also, you know, I think that particularly made me happy was seeing how the community sort of ran with it, and there's this repository called Definitely Typed on GitHub where people store type definitions for their JavaScript frameworks, and we now have coverage of, I think, more than 700 different JavaScript frameworks. Really? Every one of the top ones are there, and that's wonderful, and that's such a treasure trove of information that the community just decided to build organically. We had nothing to do with it. So that's the power of open source. Yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool.
So what do you think about Angular? Now, I have watched NG Europe. It was 2 weeks ago or something like that, and they announced AdScript. It's supposed to be a superset of TypeScript, isn't it?
Well, it's a syntactic superset, possibly, but it doesn't have a static type checker, and there's no tooling. So basically, yeah, you might be able to in AdScript write type annotations, but no one will tell you if they're wrong, which of course is probably not where you really want to land long term. Now we're talking with the people building Angular and the folks who floated the AppScript proposal, and hopefully we can find a way to add these features to TypeScript. I mean, there are not that many of them. It's like metadata annotations. We already have type annotations. So you know, I'm optimistic that we can find a solution that has the best of both worlds here.
But for now, if the Angular guys, Angular developers, want to use TypeScript or AdScript, which one should they choose?
Well, I mean, right now they have a development process established where they use Tracer, which is an ES6 transpiler that Google itself built, and then they've added some extensions to that, and that's what they're calling AdScript. They also have a need to generate Dart code for their output, which obviously we don't see as an interesting target for TypeScript, because we believe the web's going to win. So you know, there's some differences, but there's no reason why we couldn't agree on a syntax that is the same in both, and then you can pick whichever toolchain. If you like to have your types statically checked, you could use TypeScript. If you think type annotations without checking make sense, then you could use that other toolchain, right? So,
is it possible to compile it vice versa later?
Well, if it's a syntax, if the syntax is the same, yeah. Remember, with TypeScript, the core of the language is just JavaScript, right? I mean, the only thing that is really unique about TypeScript is that it wraps a type system around JavaScript, and I don't think there's a lot of disagreement there. I don't see a lot of people proposing, oh no, TypeScript did it all wrong. We need this static type system instead of that other one. I don't think that's so much the debate. It's more a question of how the tooling pipelines are put together. But I think we're fairly aligned in between us and Google and Facebook on, you know, the value, when are static type annotations valuable, and how should we write them down, you know. And already I see lots of open source projects and projects from those companies taking a dependency on all of the definition files that sit indefinitely typed, and they're all written using TypeScript's type system, right? So yeah, so there's a lot of crossbreeding going on already. Okay. Yeah.
Before we start with Roslyn, tell me the last thing. I'm pretty sure you're already working on the TypeScript version next. Yes. So what is in plan for that version?
Well, so the next version is called 2.0, and we're sort of on a multi-release march towards 2.0 sometime next year. The big highlight there is ECMAScript 6 support. So we aim to fully support ECMAScript 6. Okay. And then we have some stretch goals on additional things that we'd like to do in the statically typed part of the language. Like we'd love to do something like async await, ultimately, you know, built on top of ES6 generators. We're already evolving TypeScript's type system and making it even stronger. We recently added union types and tuple types and type aliases and all sorts of other cool things, you know, so as a type system, it's actually a pretty advanced type system at this point. So yeah, so there's lots of fun stuff.
Out of context, is LINQ in plan for JavaScript or TypeScript?
Well, I mean, LINQ is just a way of putting together lazily evaluated functional stream chains, if you will, right? And a lot of that already exists in JavaScript. I mean, like even in the built-in types, like array has, you know, map and reduce and whatever. And there are libraries like underscore, for example, that add more to it. There's even libraries called LINQ.js or LINQ, or I mean, there are several of them already out there in the open source web. So if you want LINQ, you can definitely have it with TypeScript already.
Okay, now let's talk about Roslyn. Mm-hmm. Visual Studio 2015 has just been announced, yes. And as I understand, Roslyn is now part of the Visual Studio. So there was a lot of work in the background. Yes. And what does that mean for the developers and our subscribers?
Well, so Roslyn is basically a multi-year project to rewrite the C# and VB compilers and the associated language services in C# and VB, and to rewrite them in a manner where the outcome is a modern set of tools, a modern compiler, and a modern set of frameworks that you could use to do language-related analysis. So, you know, inside Visual Studio, all of the stuff that powers all of the intelligence of the IDE, like statement completion and refactoring and go to definition and find all references, that's actually all provided by a compiler that continuously runs and analyzes your code. And previously, that was just sort of a black box that only a few people knew about, and you know, now we've opened it up and made it an API that anyone can use, because there are lots of other things that you can do with that sort of information, like code analysis. We were just talking about earlier how you guys have regex tools, you know, but with a real parser, you can do much better. You can be much more accurate about finding patterns in your code and analyzing them, or, you know, or changing them, or rewriting them, or better ways of generating code that is known to be syntactically correct. Or, do you know what I mean? So that's really sort of, so it's sort of like a tool chest of stuff that relates to the entire development process, right? And yes, it's going to ship in Visual Studio 2015. We're already internally using these new compilers, and they're available in preview form already. But it's exciting to finally get that out and shipped. And of course, the other big thing relating to Roslyn is that we've gone open source with the Roslyn project, and that we're doing most of our development and certainly most of our, almost all of our design in the open now, with the community. You know, people can see our design notes and whatever, can see the source code as it evolves. We are taking pull requests from the community, and so it's a wonderful new world.
And what were the things that a developer can see that were improved, or they were added or removed from Visual Studio based on the change that happened with Roslyn?
Well, I mean, you're going to see a lot more refactorings, a lot of just new features like inline rename, like a better renaming experience, for example, or like peek in where you can, you know, instead of jumping your editor to the definition of something, we can open a little window and show you that right there. You know, syntax highlighting in IntelliSense and Quick Info, and I mean it's all over the place, you know. And it's just, in a sense, it's like laying a foundation that will allow us to move even faster in innovating in the IDE and in the language, right? And so that's really sort of what Roslyn has been about. And now we're starting to like see these features actually appear.
But there is no support for TypeScript or other languages, it's just C# and VB.
Well, Roslyn is C# and VB, but TypeScript is also an open source project and is architected in a manner that's very similar. You know, we have a compiler that is built using the same principles, if you will, and we have an open source language service that you can plug into other IDEs, and we've seen other IDEs do that. So there are tools out there in the open, like plugins for Sublime Text and Vim and Emacs and what have you, like all the various editors that people use to write JavaScript or TypeScript code, right? There are open source projects, like there's an entire IDE built in TypeScript that uses the TypeScript language service. Yeah, oh yeah, no, there's lots of stuff out there, yeah. So, yeah, no, man, open source moves fast.
It does.
Yeah.
And what are the chances that we could get a syntax tree or parser or something like that from TypeScript or for other languages? I have experienced quite a lot of pain building those regex for that code analysis tool.
Right.
And
it's there. I mean, you just pick up the compiler. That's how the compiler is architected already.
So
you can get it right now. There's literally, I mean, the scanner is one source file, the parser is another source file. There's like the whole compiler, the core of the compiler is 10 source files in one directory. You know, go get it and look at it. Yeah. And there's lots of reusable components in there.
That's good to know. So Anders, before we finish with the talk, tell me something. Are you planning to retire anytime soon, or you're going to build awesome tools for us in the future?
As long as I'm having fun, and I am, I'm just going to keep doing this. You know, otherwise I'd just be sitting at home getting bored. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, this is my hobby, you know, more than my work, really. So yeah, I'm going to be at it for a while.
Thank you, Anders, for your time, and thank you for watching SSW TV. Stay tuned.
Did you get all that? We'll take the SSW TV quiz and test your knowledge now.